The first thing Velis noticed wasn't the blood. It was the apology. A grainy security feed filled the viewing chamber of Asterion 7, painting the walls in soft, ocean blue hologram light. The footage jittered as the camera autocorrected for smoke, alarms, and sudden movement. In the center of the frame, a human compact, bipedal, unremarkable by Galactic standards, turned his head toward a Krell merchant, who was crouched behind a cargo pallet. His left shoulder was a crater of charred armor. His breathing was ragged. His hands shook. And still, he lifted his chin and mouthed words that the translator tagged in neat white captions. "Sorry about your crates." Velis rewound the clip again. She told herself it was research, not obsession. She was Lyrafi, a people who built their cities like equations and planned their lives like proofs. For 3 millennia, the Lyrafi had sat on the Galactic Council and watched empires rise, fracture, and fade into footnotes. She'd studied war doctrine from a dozen species. She'd memorized the standard responses to boarding actions, raids, and siege tactics. None of it explained humans. The timestamp in the corner read, 2 years, 4 months ago. The location tag blinked. Outpost KO3. A remote trading station on the ragged edge of civilized space, where smugglers and honest merchants used the same docking clamps. The battle lasted 18 minutes. Those 18 minutes had changed how the Council spoke about one young species that had only joined the galactic community 3 years earlier. Velis sat alone in the dark, violet eyes fixed, fingers hovering over the control panel. She had watched this recording so many times she could anticipate the moment the alarm began a thin, rising wail that triggered every prey instinct in most Council species. The cargo bay looked ordinary at first. Stacked containers, cranes at rest, Krell merchants checking manifests while Torsion guards stood at attention. A handful of human contractors in plain armor moved with casual efficiency, like they were on another shift, another day. Then the hull breach warning flared. Vaz raiders, not petty thieves. The kind of pirates who decorated their armor with teeth and loved the terror of a slow kill. They were known for weaponry too advanced for their stated resources, black market tech, stolen prototypes, anything that burned hotter than it should. The station's defenders did what the galaxy taught them to do. They retreated. They formed a defensive arc behind cargo stacks. They pinged local authorities. They waited to assess numbers and minimize casualties. The humans did something else. A file identifier appeared over one figure in the footage. Elias Rourke. Age, 29 Earth years. Role, private security detail. Equipment, standard plasma rifle. Basic body plating. If Velis had passed him in a corridor, she wouldn't have glanced twice. Human faces were hard to read. Too much micro-expression, too much motion. Rourke had dark hair cut short, a jaw dusted with stubble, and the tired posture of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. When the first raider slammed through the cargo door in a spray of metal and sparks, Rourke moved toward it, not back, not sideways, forward. He fired 3 times while advancing, each shot timed between footfalls, like his body already knew where recoil would land. The raider dropped before its weapon fully cleared the doorway. 2 more surged in behind it. Rourke rolled behind a container, came up on the other side without pausing and fired again. To precise bursts, 2 bodies hit the floor. Velis had paused at that point in previous viewings. She'd measured reaction times, tracked angles, calculated the probability of success if any other guard had tried the same maneuver. What unsettled her wasn't the accuracy, it was the decision. The other defenders were still in the cover phase. In 5 seconds, the human had eliminated 3 hostile targets and forced the raiders to hesitate. Then a plasma bolt caught him in the left shoulder. The Lyrithi nervous system was not built for that kind of pain. Most council species weren't. Plasma weapons didn't just wound. They cooked. They cauterized. They overloaded sensory pathways until the mind shut down out of self-preservation. Rourke stumbled. His rifle slid from his left hand. He dropped to one knee. Velis held her breath, even though she knew what came next. The human reached across his body with his right hand, gripped the rifle, and stood back up. His face contorted pain, yes, but layered under it was something Velis struggled to name. Not rage, not joy, focus, a kind of stubborn clarity, like a mind narrowing until only one task remained. He took cover and kept firing. More raiders poured in, and a torsion guard near him panicked and bolted. In the footage, the guard's weapon bounced loose as he ran. Rourke snatched it without looking. Now he fought with 2 guns. His left arm hung useless, smoke curling from the torn seam of his armor. He should have been in shock. He should have been screaming. Instead, he moved through the cargo bay like the environment belonged to him. He shoved a container with his shoulder to create a new barrier. He climbed onto stacked crates to gain height, firing down at angles the raiders hadn't covered. He threw empty equipment canisters not to injure, but to distract, to force aim adjustments, to steal half seconds. When a raider twice his mass grabbed him from behind, the human did something Velis hadn't seen in any tactical manual. He slammed his head backward. The motion broke his nose. Velis could see the spray, the sudden collapse of the bridge, but it also stunned the attacker. Rourke spun, drove a knee up into the raider's midsection, ripped a knife free, and kept fighting when his weapons ran dry. By the time backup arrived, actual Marines, heavier armor, disciplined lines, the cargo bay floor looked like a storm had passed through. 14 raiders were dead or disabled. The human was still standing. His left arm was ruined. His nose was broken. He had cracked ribs and a concussion. He'd lost enough blood that, by Lyrithi metrics, consciousness should have been impossible. The footage ended there, as if the camera itself could no longer bear witness. Velis sat in silence until the door behind her sighed open. A Krell diplomat entered, scales dulled with age, silver patterns faded like old coins. His name was Theska, and he walked with the careful steps of someone whose body remembered injuries his pride refused to name. "You're watching him again," Veska said. It wasn't a question. Velis didn't look away from the frozen image of the human on the screen, face smeared with blood. Eyes unnervingly calm. "I'm trying to understand," she replied. "The Council asked me to compile a report on human combat behavior. They want recommendations." Veska made a sound that might have been laughter, if laughter had ever carried so much weariness. "Recommendations," he echoed. as if you can recommend the tide not come in. He lowered himself into a chair beside her and tapped the control panel. Another file surfaced. Psychological Evaluation Elias Rourke. Velis scanned it quickly. Her antennae small and subtle along her hairline shifted with confusion. The report was boring, stable, cooperative, average aggression markers, suitable for civilian interaction. No indications of antisocial behavior. He's normal, Velis said, the word tasting strange. By human standards, he's ordinary, exactly, Veska murmured. That is what frightens me. Velis looked at him then. You knew him. I was there, Veska said. Outpost KO3. I was one of the merchants trapped behind those crates. His gaze softened, as if seeing the old terror again. After they dragged him toward medical, he apologized to me. Velis blinked. Apologized for the mess, Veska said. For the damages. He asked if I'd lost much merchandise. The chamber felt colder. Veska swiped to another file. A diplomatic reception on Celestia 9, only a month prior. The footage showed the same human clean uniform this time, hair neat, posture relaxed, kneeling to speak with a cluster of yaoi children. He demonstrated a hand game, pawns clapping rhythmically. The children squealed with laughter. He's gentle, Velis murmured before she could stop herself. And yet, Veska said, when violence is required, he becomes something else. Velis turned the phrase over like a shard of glass. Most species can't do that. No, Veska agreed. We are either warriors or we are not. Humans are both. They can flip a switch. Predator when needed. Peaceful when the danger passes. Velis brought up a star map. A red indicator pulsed on the frontier. Vespera system. Rourke's been promoted, she said, more to herself than to Veska. Special Operations Commander. His ship use Resolute is deploying to Vespera to pirate activity. Blockade rumors. Veska's scales rippled in something that might have been sympathy. Then I pity the pirates, he said. Velis's fingers hovered over her report draft. The Council wants to know if we should restrict human military service. Classify them as dangerous. Veska rose with a groan of old joints. Tell them what I told the Council 2 years ago. Humans are dangerous to those who threaten the innocent. He paused at the threshold and looked back. There's a human phrase, he said. Speak softly and carry a big stick. His eyes narrowed. Rourke is that stick. Just pray no one gives his species a reason to swing it. When the door closed, Velis sat alone with the frozen image of Elias Rourke, and with a thought she couldn't type into a formal report. What if someone already has? The bridge of the UES Resolute was a cathedral of quiet machinery sensor beeps, like distant insects. Engine hum like restrained thunder. The view screen held the Vespera system in sharp, clean light. A yellow star, 3 planets. And the second. World Vespera 2 spinning under a thin blue atmosphere. 15,000 colonists lived down there. Right now, they were trapped. Commander Rena Holt stood with her hands clasped behind her back, posture calm as practiced steel. Status, she said. Lieutenant Chen at Tactical didn't bother hiding his grimness. Pirate blockade confirmed. 6 heavy cruisers, fighter wings, They're demanding tribute and hostages. He swallowed. They've given the colony 48 hours. After that they start orbital bombardment. Holt exhaled once, slow. The Resolute was fast, heavily armed for a ship her size, and built for frontier operations. But it wasn't a battleship. "Where's Commander Rourke?" she asked. In briefing, Chen replied, "With his team. Tell him I'm coming." Holt left the bridge, boots striking the corridor deck in steady rhythm. The Resolute was only 2 years old, built with special operations in mind, stealth coatings, modular bays, insertion craft, enough tricks to make pirates nervous. It was also the only vessel close enough to help. In the briefing room, 8 operators in black combat gear sat around a table littered with holographic overlays. They looked up as Holt entered. No chatter, no bravado, just the quiet attention of people who had already decided what they'd do. Elias Rourke stood at the head of the table. His hair was shorter than in the old footage. A thin scar cut across his cheek like an afterthought. His left shoulder moved smoothly now human medicine had repaired what plasma had tried to erase. But his eyes were unchanged. Calm, alert, present, Commander, Holt said. "Ma'am," Rourke replied with a small nod. "What have you got?" Rourke tapped the table. The holo shifted to a massive silhouette, a pirate flagship with layered armor and protruding weapons arrays. The Iron Wing, flagship of Carvax the Ironbound. "He's been operating in this sector for 2 centuries, Rourke said. "Never retreated, never officially defeated. 200 years, Holt repeated. "Either very good or very lucky." "Both," muttered Lieutenant Malik, Rourke's second. "Carvax is core axe-blooded, long-lived, built for violence." The team medic, Dr. Sarah Niles, snorted. "Anyone who calls himself Ironbound is compensating." Rourke didn't smile, but something in his eyes warmed. "Maybe. But his record is real. He takes colonies, captures ships, turns the fear into recruitment." Holt studied the flagship overlay. "We can't match that firepower." "No, ma'am," Rourke said. "But we don't have to." He zoomed into the ship's interior, highlighting a node deep in the hull. "Centralized weapons grid," he said. "One main power relay. If it fails, the whole weapons network drops." Holt's brow rose. "An infiltration, a small team," Rourke agreed. "Fast insertion. Destroy the relay. Extract before they know what happened. It's suicide," Holt said flatly. "It's high risk," Rourke corrected, voice even. "But possible." The operators exchanged glances, not fear, not excitement, readiness. Holt held their faces in her gaze. Volunteers. All of them. Not drafted bodies. Not conscripts. People who'd chosen this job knowing the frontier didn't forgive mistakes. "How long to prep?" she asked. Rourke's answer was immediate. "We're ready." Holt's jaw tightened. The colony had 48 hours. The blockade would not negotiate in good faith. Diplomacy failed when the other party enjoyed burning cities. "You have a go," she said. "Bring my people home." Rourke nodded once. "Yes, Mum." 6 hours later, the team floated in the cold dark. Thrusters whispering. The Iron Wing loomed ahead, a fortress wrapped around a spine of engines. Weapons ports dotted the hull like scars. Rourke checked his HUD. Simple plan. Find a maintenance hatch. Cut through. Reach the relay. Plant charges. Leave. Simple never meant easy. They landed without sound. Malik's voice in comms was tight. No alarms. Rourke's plasma cutter hissed as it bit into metal. The hatch glowed, sagged, and fell away. One by one, the team slipped inside. Heat hit them first. Old ship systems ran hot. Emergency lights cast red shadows down the corridor. It was empty. Too empty. Sierra's whisper was a thread of warning. This feels wrong. Rourke felt it to an instinct sharpened by too many close calls. The corridor smelled like ozone and stale air and waiting. Then both ends slammed shut. Floodlights snapped on. Side panels opened. Dozens of pirates poured into the corridor, weapons leveled. A voice boomed through speakers in rough common. "Drop your weapons. Carvax the Ironbound welcomes you aboard." Rourke's mouth went dry. They'd been expected. "You're famous, human," the voice continued, amused. "I wanted to meet you before I killed you." Malik hissed. 40 at least. "We're boxed." Any standard doctrine would have said surrender hope for exchange. Buy time. Minimize casualties. Rourke had never been built for that doctrine. "Positions," he said quietly. "Sierra, Malik cover. Everyone else close quarters ready. On my mark." Rourke. Malik snapped. "That's, I know," Rourke said. "On my mark." He tossed a flash grenade. The corridor erupted into white, noise, and disorientation. Half the pirates staggered blind. Rourke moved. 3 shots. To down. He slid behind a beam. Malik and Sierra opened covering fire from opposite angles. The fight became chaos pirates with numbers and heavy weapons. Humans with speed and training and an unnerving refusal to stop. A plasma bolt caught Malik in the leg. He went down hard, swearing through clenched teeth. Sierra dragged him behind cover and fired one-handed without missing. Rourke saw the pirates trying to flank. He sprinted, slid low, and ended both with a blade before their muscles tracked. "How bad?" he shouted. "I've had worse," Malik grunted. "But I'm not running any marathons." "Stabilize him," Rourke ordered. "We push." What should have ended the mission turned into something else, a forward crawl through an enemy ship, fighting for every meter. 20 minutes later, they held a junction room temporary shelter, not safety. Rourke's armor smoked in places. Warnings flickered on his HUD. The relay objective sat 3 levels below them like a taunt. "This isn't working," Sierra shouted over gunfire. "We can't brute force our way down." Rourke wiped sweat from his brow and studied the ceiling. Pipes, fuel lines, coolant networks, ventilation shafts branching like veins. The Iron Wing was older than modern security standards. Older than the habit of assuming enemies would think like you. Old ships had old weaknesses. "How many charges left?" he asked. 4, said the demolitions specialist, Juno Price, voice tight with adrenaline. "Why?" Rourke pointed upward. "Fuel systems integrated. If we hit junctions in the right places, we can trigger cascading failures. Force them to shut down main power to prevent a ship-wide explosion." Sierra's eyes sharpened. "And if they shut down main power, the weapon's grid dies." "Exactly," Rourke said. We don't need the relay if we make them kill it themselves. Malik tried to rise and failed, grimacing. You're not going alone. I'm not, Rourke said. Sierra's with me. Malik's glare was pure fury. I can still. That's an order, Rourke said, firm but not cruel. I need you coordinating. You do that, we all come home. Malik stared, then exhaled hard. Fine, but if you die, I'm haunting you. Rourke's mouth twitched. Fair. They sensed timers. 15 minutes. 3 teams split through ducts and side corridors, ghosts in a ship full of hunters. Rourke and Sierra crawled through a vent barely wide enough for shoulders. Metal burned hot under their gloves. Somewhere below, pirates shouted and searched. You know this is insane, Sierra whispered. I've been told, Rourke replied, inching forward. So far, it hasn't killed me. Yet, he agreed. The vent ended above the main engineering chamber. Rourke eased the grate aside and looked down. The room was enormous generators like monoliths, conduits thick as trees. Armed engineers moved between stations, and in the center stood Carvacs, 3 meters tall, armor plates that looked grown rather than forged, forearms ending in claws, multiple eyes glowing a dim red in the haze. Sierra breathed. That's him. Rourke watched the warlord shout orders, voice thunderous with confidence. He's enjoying this, Rourke murmured. We're entertainment. Timer, 8 minutes. They climbed down a crane cable, moving with care. Halfway, an engineer looked up and started to shout. Rourke let go. He dropped for meters, hit the engineer like a falling hammer, and the shout died in the engineer's throat. Sierra landed beside him a heartbeat later. They dragged the unconscious body behind a generator and took the access card. 5 minutes. They reached the main conduits. Rourke placed charges with surgeon precision. Small, exact, devastating in the right spots. 3 pirates spotted them. Rourke's knife flew one down. Sierra's suppressed pistol snapped second down. The third yelled. Sirens screamed. Red lights strobed. Pirates poured in from every direction. Rourke armed the charges. 2 minutes. Run, he told Sierra. They sprinted, but the exits clogged with bodies. Rourke pivoted deeper into engineering, choosing a path most people would avoid, toward the heart of the beast. Heavy footsteps thundered behind them. Carvax was coming. They hit a dead-end corridor. A dozen pirates advanced ahead, guns ready. Behind, Carvax's shadow filled the doorway like a collapsing ceiling. 90 seconds, Sierra said, voice tight. We're too close. The blast, Rourke's eyes snapped to an emergency escape pod recessed into the wall. Small. 1 person. Maybe 2 if they crushed themselves into it. There, he said. They ran as plasma bolts streaked past. Something hot sliced across Rourke's ribs, but he didn't slow. He yanked the pod open and shoved Sierra inside. What are you doing? She shouted, grabbing his arm. Making sure you get out, he said, and hit the launch control. Sierra, no. She screamed. The pod blasted away through the chute, her voice cutting off as the door sealed, and the ship spat her into space. Rourke turned back. Empty weapon. No knife. No time. Carvax stepped forward and laughed, deep and delighted. The famous human, the warlord, rumbled in perfect common. Alone, unarmed, about to die. I expected more. Rourke wiped blood from his mouth and smiled. You should have. The charges detonated. Engineering became thunder. Conduits ruptured in chains of fire. Lights died. Systems screamed. For a heartbeat, the world went black. Then emergency glow flickered dim red, like coals. Pirates stumbled, disoriented. Carvax roared orders, furious now. In that chaos, Rourke moved. He took a weapon from the first pirate, used it to drop to more, then discarded it when it clicked empty. He became motion, angles. Leverage every desperate trick a smaller creature learns to survive larger teeth. His comm crackled. Rourke, Malik's voice, strained. Charges worked. All teams successful. Iron Wing is dead in space. Weapons offline. Shields down. Hulks moving to scatter the rest. Rourke breathed out. Relief sharp as pain. Good. Get to extraction. And you? I'm working on it. He should have run. Objective achieved. Colonies saved. But Carvax still lived. As long as the warlord breathed, he would rebuild. He would find another colony, another set of innocents to terrify. Sometimes missions didn't end when the objective was complete. Sometimes you ended the source. Rourke followed the sound of Carvax's voice to the generator room, where the warlord stood surrounded by guards. You, Carvax snarled, seeing him. You broke my ship. 200 years undefeated and one small human does this. You should have left the colony alone. Rourke said. Carvax's laughter turned cold. I've shattered armies. I've killed thousands. What are you? One creature. No weapons. No hope. In a fair fight, Rourke would lose. But fair fights were for games. Rourke fired a stolen pistol at the generator control panel. Sparks exploded. The generator whined, pitch rising into danger. The guards hesitated, afraid of being near a failing core. Rourke used the hesitation like a doorway. He grabbed a broken pipe, swung it into the nearest guard's skull, kept moving. Carvax charged. Forearms struck like hammers. Rourke ducked one, rolled from another, vaulted off a support beam to avoid a third. The fourth caught him across the chest and hurled him into a wall. Pain bloomed white. Ribs cracked. Breath vanished. For a second, the universe narrowed to the simple question, do you stand back up? Rourke staggered to his feet. Carvax advanced, confident again. Persistent. I respect it. But persistence isn't enough. No, Rourke said, blood on his teeth. It's just what I have. He snatched a welding torch from a bench and ignited it. Blue flame hissed into life. Not a weapon, technically, but anything was a weapon in the hands of someone who refused to stop. He thrust the flame toward Carvax's face. The warlord recoiled, surprised. Rourke pressed the attack slower now, body screaming, but mind locked into the narrow corridor of necessity. Tools became projectiles. Debris became obstacles. Smoke became cover. The generator's whine became a scream. Why will you not die? Carvax roared, grabbing him with two arms and lifting him off the deck. The other two arms pulled back, claws poised to tear. Rourke stared into glowing eyes and spoke through broken breath. "Because people are counting on me." He drove his thumbs into two of Carvax's eyes. The warlord screamed and dropped him. Rourke hit the floor, rolled, surged up again. He jammed the welding flame into a joint where armor plates met flesh. The flame bit deep. Carvax backhanded him. Something snapped in Rourke's left arm. Numbness spread to his fingers. His vision pulsed dark around the edges. Then the generator blew shrapnel. Concussion, a brutal wave that knocked bodies down. Rourke used the blast like cover, crawling through the chaos, grabbing a sharp shard of metal. Carvax rose, staggering, wounded. Furious Rourke drove the shard into the opening he'd burned. Carvax seized him, crushing. More ribs broke. Darkness crowded in. Rourke twisted the shard deeper with his one good hand until it scraped something vital. Carvax's grip weakened. For the first time, fear flickered in the warlord's eyes. "How?" Carvax rasped. "How does one human?" Rourke hauled himself close, voice rough but steady. "Because I'm not special." He forced the shard one final inch. "We're all like this," he whispered. "Every human, if you corner us and threaten what we protect." Carvax fell. The room went still. Pirates stared at their leader's collapsed form like a law of nature had been broken. The ironbound broken by a creature that should have been dead minutes ago. Rourke stumbled toward extraction, each step a negotiation with his own body. His con crackled again, Sarah's voice frantic from wherever her pod had been recovered. "Rourke, the Resolute is in position. We have to go now." "Coming," he managed. He reached the rendezvous point where his team waited Malik on a stretcher, but alive. The others soot-streaked, eyes wide with that mix of awe and worry only comrades can give. Sarah slammed into him, supporting his weight with a curse. "You absolute idiot." Rourke coughed something that might have been a laugh. "I get that a lot." They extracted as the pirate fleet scattered. Without weapons, without a flagship, without Carvax's myth holding them together, they became what they always were beneath the armor, criminals running from consequences. Within the hour, Commander Holt broke the blockade and secured Vespera too. 15,000 colonists lived to see another sunrise. The medical bay aboard the Resolute smelled of antiseptic and warm circuitry. Monitors beeped softly. Regenerative bandages pulsed faintly with light. Rourke lay in a recovery bed, ribs wrapped, left arm stabilized. The doctor promised a full recovery in 6 weeks. The doctor also admitted quietly that most species would not have survived the night. Sarah sat beside the bed with a datapad, pretending to read. "You're famous again," she said without looking up. "News feeds are calling you the Wraith of Vespera. Someone wrote an epic poem about you and Carvax." Rourke groaned. "Please tell me it's bad." "It's atrocious," she confirmed. "But dramatic." The door opened. Commander Holt entered, fatigue in her posture, satisfaction in her eyes. "Commander Rourke," she said formally, then softened. "How's my favorite problem still alive?" "Stubbornness," Rourke rasped. Holt pulled up a chair. "The Council awarded you the Star of Valor. Highest honor they can give. Ceremony next month." Rourke's brow furrowed. "Give it to my team. They're being decorated," Holt said. "But the Council wants a symbol." They see one human doing impossible things, and they don't know whether to cheer or lock the doors. Rourke stared at the ceiling, as if the stars were hiding there. So I'm not just a soldier. No, Holt said. You're a story, and stories change politics. After she left, the door opened again. A tall, slender Lirithie stepped in, violet eyes bright with careful curiosity. Velis, the intelligence officer from Asterion 7, no longer hidden in the blue glow of a viewing chamber. She carried a recording device like a shield. Commander Rourke, she said with a slight bow, I'm compiling a historical record. May I ask you questions? Rourke gestured weakly. Sure. Velis activated the recorder. I've studied your combat records. Outpost KO3, Vesperatu. A dozen engagements. Her antennae shifted. I can't answer one question through observation alone. Rourke waited. Why do humans fight the way you do? Velis asked. You fight past the point your body tells you to stop. You fight when logic says surrender is safer. Why? Rourke was quiet for a long moment, as if searching for the simplest honest piece of the truth. I think, he said finally, we understand fear differently. Velis's eyes narrowed. Fear should stop you. For some species, sure, he said. But humans spent a long time as prey. Not the strongest, not the fastest. We survived because we learned to be afraid and move anyway. Velis leaned forward. You weaponized fear. In a way, Rourke said. Fear is a warning. We treat warnings like instructions. And pain? Velis asked. Rourke glanced at his bandaged arm. Pain is information. It tells you something's wrong. But it doesn't automatically get to be the boss. Velis was silent, processing. Do you enjoy fighting? She asked at last. No, Rourke said instantly. I hate it. The speed of the answer surprised even him. I'm terrified every time, he admitted. Hands shake, heart races. Part of me wants to run and hide, he swallowed. But there are people depending on me. My team, colonists, people who don't get a choice. Velis's voice softened. So you fight because you care more about others than your own safety. That's part of it, Rourke said. And because we've had practice. Humans are good at suffering. We've been doing it a long time. Velis turned off the recorder slowly, as if the click might echo. That is deeply troubling, she said, almost to herself. Sorry, Rourke muttered. Velis looked at him sharply. Then unexpectedly her mouth curved in the closest thing the Lirithie had to a smile. Even now, she said, you apologize. Rourke's eyes closed with exhaustion. Old habit. Velis rose. At the door she paused, one final question hanging in the air. Are you afraid of what you've become? She asked. Of what your reputation means. Rourke's answer came after a long breath. Yes, he said. I'm afraid people see a monster when I'm just a person doing a job. I'm afraid one day I'll fail when it matters. His voice roughened. But I'm more afraid of what happens if I stop trying. Velis nodded once, the gesture precise. That, she said, is the most human answer imaginable. When she left, Rourke lay back, listening to the steady beep of monitors and the distant hum of engines. Later, Malik limped in. followed by the rest of the team. They crowded around the bed with tired smiles and terrible jokes, arguing about what Rourke should say during the medal ceremony. Rourke watched them, and the galaxy's fear felt very far away. Because this was what mattered, not the myth, not the terror, just a handful of people who'd chosen, again and again, to stand between danger and those who couldn't. And somewhere beyond the hull, the stars kept spinning, indifferent to stories. But Velis knew, as she finalized her report, that stories were never just stories. Not when the story was about a species that could be gentle one moment and unstoppable the next. Not when the demon every alien feared was, in truth, simply human.